So here's the sitch on the ATL box score. This is our recapping the weekend show, and that's literally what we do. We mainly talk about the March Madness, the national basketball tournament going on right now, and I bet in your Final Four you don't have Auburn, you probably don't have Texas Tech or Michigan State. I bet you don't. I bet you don't have. I would be really surprised if your bracket, your Final Four is these four teams that are in the tournament right now. So we get into all that one and dones and all that stuff. Then we talk a little bit Braves baseball because, well, there's no way getting around it. It just sucked for the Braves this weekend. We get into that and the opening day that's going on today. So we talk about that and the Blooper burger. So we get into all that and much more. This is recapping the weekend, and you're listening to Atlanta's newest sports podcast, the ATL Box Score. With starting a new podcast, people ask me all the time, Alex, where do you record your show at? Do you do it at your house? No, I don't do it at my house because of just a lot of different logistical factors. The place that I do it at is actually a place called Spaces, Midtown East. And Spaces is a co-working center where I get my show recorded and I get other work done. Co-working has been one of these new phenomenons in the private business sector that has popped up recently. And Spaces also has another brand called Regis, which is more of a professional brand. Spaces is more for creators like myself. But to tell you more about these special brands in the business world is Mr. Steve Choi.
Thanks, Alex. I appreciate those kind words. We absolutely love having you and ATL Box Score as part of our space. It's always great when we see you doing your work. But absolutely, Spaces and the Regis concept, we are both workplace providers here in the Atlanta area, but all around the world. We have over 250 Spaces locations worldwide, plus over 1,500 Regis locations. And what we're really here to do is just provide flexible options for any type of professional, whether you're an independent professional, creative, or if you're a large or small business. So we have several different types of options from small to large and memberships, part-time, full-time. So definitely come on out and check us out. Go ahead and look at the link on Alex's site and ask for Steve Choi. And if you ever come into one of our locations, let us know that Alex sent you or ATL Box Score, and we'll go ahead and set you up with a free 5-day test drive.
Yeah, you can't beat that 5-day test drive. In those 5 days, you will know if Spaces or Regis is the right brand for you. And Spaces is all over the place. They're a little bit more limited, but they're in the main areas of the city. The one we are is right in the heart of Midtown, near the Fox Theater. There's one at the Battery. There's going to be one opening up North Point Mall there. And there's also a location in Colony Square. So they are all over the metro area. At just about any major business building in the Atlanta area has a Regis in it. So just Google them. But Spaces and Regis and Steve Choi in particular is your place to do your business. Well, just want to say welcome back to the ATL Box Score podcast here on a Monday morning in the in Atlanta. So I'm Alex Berger. Alongside me is Steve Choi, and I just want to first start off talking about the college basketball action that went on. A lot of different sports stuff. You had baseball going on. With the Braves losing their first 3 games, which we're going to get into that later. It's opening day here in Atlanta. But before we get into all that, we're going to talk some college basketball. And this is a show where we just kind of recap. Well, it's our recapping the weekend show, and we literally just recap what's going on. No special guests in today, but we do have Steve Choi, which we're always grateful to have him on the show. And Steve, how are you doing today?
Good weekend. I always feel special.
I'm glad you always feel special.
So I'm like the permanent special guest. Featured player. I kind of like SNL. You ever watch SNL?
Yeah.
And how they have like the regular cast, and then they have like the featured players or the featuring.
Oh, so you're like you think you're like Alan Baldwin?
No. They have their so you know how in the main cast they go through and they talk about like Colin Jost, Kenan Thompson, right? But then they go featuring, and then they have like 3 or 4 more cast members that aren't regulars yet. So I'm kind of like one of those. I'm not a regular yet, but I'm a feature.
You're kind of like Alan Baldwin.
I like Baldwin, I guess. Okay, fine. Yeah, kind of. I meant more like Chris Redd or.
I think what happens, they're like either writers or producers.
No. So what happens is
because I like
they're like in training. So
they're in training.
Yeah. So basically what happens is, and I gotta imagine that their contract reflects this and their pay reflects this as well. So you have the regular guys, because everyone wants to hear about this right now. So you got the regular guys, which is like I said, like the Colin Jost, the Michael Shea, the Kenan Thompson, at the beginning of the show, right? And then they go featuring, and then they'll have like Chris Redd and blah blah blah. Like I can't remember off the top of my head who are their featuring people. Those are people who are like they made it to the show, but they haven't been offered like long-term contracts.
I gotcha. So I was wondered about that. I was
like auditioning them. Because you'll notice, like, last year they had this one guy, can't remember her name, but they had this one guy that was there for like a year, and then he's no longer around. So they kind of like, you.
Do you remember who that was?
Funny, which are not that funny, huh?
Do you remember who that was?
No, but I can find out.
I
thought he was okay.
I mean, I don't think it's being funny. I think it's more of a thing. Can you gel with everyone?
Right, but also what you bring to the table, right?
Exactly.
Because like not all of them have, like some of them will just get on the show, and then they'll just outshine everybody. Like, who is the one that does the attorney Jeff Sessions? She does Jeff Sessions, and she does like
Kate McKinnon.
Yeah. So, like, she was a featured player at one point, but she's just so talented that she quickly became, like, from just a featured player to, like, now, like, she's almost in every single sketch. And, like, she has so many, like, characters that she plays that, you can't even imagine. Like, when you don't see her in a couple sketches, you're wondering, like, what's going on? Like, where's she at?
Right. Yeah, because she played Hillary Clinton, I think, is the most...
She played Hillary Clinton.
She plays everyone.
Got to that point, she was just like every character because she's just so hilarious, and she just like shined and just took over. What's her name? Did that too? What's the woman? Gosh, I can't. My names are escaping me. She's the one that played on Bridesmaids, and
Chris Wiig.
Ghostbusters. Yeah, Kristen Wiig. Like so, Kristen Wiig, when she got on there. Again, she was one of the newer ones, and there were more established people on there. But then she just took over. Like every sketch is a Kristen Wiig sketch,
right?
And then she left the show,
right? Yeah. But I found out too, since we're on this thing.
Yeah.
I guess because it's a Monday morning, I really don't care at this point.
I didn't even get a chance to watch it this weekend.
I didn't either.
But I will.
That's usually what I do on Mondays.
I have a DVR.
I have it. I didn't record it, but I can get it on demand. Anyways,
fancy.
But there's a game that they played actually when they were at when they were on the set of Ghostbusters, or like Yeah, and what they did was they took Post-its,
Yeah.
and they would write random things down, and they would put it on their head.
Okay.
And whatever was on because they would line up face to face, and
Gotcha.
whichever name was on their head, or they had to do an impression of that.
Gotcha.
Because they did it on Ellen, and she could do all those different impressions, and it was I don't know, she did 20 of them in 30 minute or 30 seconds.
Gotcha.
So
That's awesome.
So if you want to get on SNL, that's start playing that game. See if you can do as many impressions as you can.
Gotcha.
So yeah.
No, I couldn't do all that.
Yeah, I don't consider you as someone who's short term. Maybe we should get that long term contract out.
Yeah, buddy. That would be awesome, right?
Right.
No, see, the thing about it is I often thought about writing for SNL because I like to write comedy sketches, which I sent you a comedy sketch. And anyways,
you did, yeah, you did.
So I always wanted to be a writer because I don't think I could be. I mean, I never thought I could be a performer, but some people have told me, oh, you should go in as a performer because then you could be the random Asian dude. And I'm I don't want to be only playing the Asian characters, you know what I mean? Because then they'll stick me with Kim Jong Un. And
so now our listeners I always wondered what he was.
Right. And so they just would stick me to random Asian characters. I don't want to be pigeonholed that way.
I gotcha.
You know what I mean? Because Kenan Thompson plays every single black character, which is, and he does a great job at it.
Right.
His Charles Barkley and his LeVar Ball are hilarious. But it's I could just know if I got on there, then I'd be okay, we want you to play Kim Jong Un, and I wouldn't even know how to do that.
I had the family over this weekend.
Yeah.
Because one of my uncles was in town, or uncle and his wife were in town for a certain shower and everything like that.
Right.
And usually in my family, that's when all the stories come out. Right. I guess that naturally happens. And my brother talked about a time where he knew someone that worked in some sort of sports on the medical side of sports or something like that in Arizona.
Right.
And he brought up this woman who knew Charles Barkley. Because when you're talking about that, Kenan Thompson does impressions of Charles Barkley.
Right.
And he actually said that it's that stuff that Charles does. Because to me, Charles Barkley, he comes off very dumb on TV. Would you agree with that?
I don't want to use the word dumb. What I think Charles Barkley comes off as is a very impulsive, speak first, think later type person. So he'll say unfiltered things that for most of us are dang, why'd you say that? I can't believe you said that. And I don't know if they're dumb. I mean, there's some things I don't agree with for sure, but I don't you know what I mean? To me, a dumb person is someone who has you know what I mean? Zero, it makes no common sense whatsoever.
Well, I said he comes off that way.
I know. I don't think it comes off that way. I think
you don't think it comes. You just think he's impulsive.
Yeah, I just think.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that.
Unfiltered.
I agree with that. Well, the interesting thing about this story is that actually Charles Barkley in real life is actually the opposite way. That he does it on TV just as an act.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. So you see how I just transitioned from SNL? I was how are we doing this? How are we doing this?
Yeah.
And then it's you brought up Charles Barkley. And so...
speaking of Charles Barkley,
yes.
his team, Auburn,
Yeah.
pulled off the biggest upset of the tournament so far, I think.
Yeah, they played Kansas, North Carolina, and then they played Kentucky.
No. They beat, yeah, you're right. Kansas, North Carolina, and Kentucky, and then they beat
All the Blue Bloods except for Duke.
Right. Which Michigan State took out.
Well, with Auburn, and I've really thought about this one coming on the show today.
Yeah.
Because if you saw Auburn at the beginning of the year, they didn't look as impressive as they looked last year.
Right.
Because last year was the year they set the SEC on fire.
Right.
And they showed at least like in the SEC that we're here. You guys got to take us seriously because we're one of the premier basketball teams in this conference. Right. Well, the NCAA tournament, they got out of the first round. And then you saw kind of a sluggish Auburn that you knew that had the potential to be good, but you always wondered how good could you be?
Right.
And then I feel like beating Tennessee in the regular season, then beating Tennessee again in the SEC tournament kind of changed everything around. Right now, they are the hottest team in college basketball. And back in November and December and January, they weren't looking like that.
No.
So congrats. I mean...
Yeah, I mean, this is what I love about March Madness as opposed to... So I never was a college football guy because my teams, other than Stanford, really never did anything. And even Stanford never really did anything, but they went to the Rose Bowl that one year. But
we're starting to get you into it a little bit.
Right. And I'm enjoying it. So don't get me wrong. But I've always been a March Madness fan.
Yeah.
And it's just exciting because with college basketball and basketball in general, you know, there's just so much up and down scoring that, like, there could be, you know, several opportunities to pull off upsets, you know what I mean? Or, you know, last second shots and all this other stuff. Whereas, you know, in football, essentially, if you're up by 2 touchdowns and there's only 2 minutes to go, it's pretty much donezo, right?
Right, pretty much.
So, you know, you've seen teams come back from, you know, 10 points down in college basketball within, like, you know, a 2 to 3 minute time frame. Anyway, it's just exciting. And so it's cool. I think the last few years more so than any, it feels like the Blue Bloods and like the number 1 seeds. No, again, I think what was it last year? All the number 1 seeds ended up to the Final Four. I'm not sure. But it just feels like there's more opportunities now than ever for teams to be competitive, even though they're not, you know, a Blue Blood team or, you know, a top-ranked team like Auburn and Texas Tech.
I saw something staggering that I was really surprised that for the past 5 years, Duke's never gotten out of the Elite Eight.
Really?
Yeah.
So they lost in the Elite Eight.
I mean, the Elite. Well, not they just lost in the Elite Eight, but it's like the Elite Eight has been like the ceiling for Duke.
Right. So they haven't got past it.
Right. But it's like Duke always kind of reminds me sort of like Alabama or Clemson, that they always look good. Or let me throw that away. They remind me of Ohio State.
Okay.
How Ohio State in college football always looks good, unless they had to play like someone tough at the beginning of the season.
Yeah.
But they always look pretty dominant. And then you think going into the games that really matter the most,
right,
that you feel like they're going to dominate, they're going to win, and then it's the opposite. I mean,
yeah,
if they were as dominant team or people make them out to be, that game against Michigan State shouldn't have been as close.
Gotcha.
In my opinion.
It's interesting because I don't know what's going on with Duke, but I will say that, Yeah, I mean, there were like decades where Duke was like, if you're gonna play Duke, it's over with. You know what
Right.
I mean, like you didn't want to play Duke. And then nowadays, to me, it's sort of fascinating because you see the evolution of Myshashevsky, or however you pronounce his name.
You said it right, buddy.
Like you always wonder as a coach, right? Like when should a coach retire? And sometimes you wonder, you're like, man, how does a coach get to a point, because they're not actually playing, but how does a coach get to a point where they can no longer coach, right? Where their teams aren't doing as well. And you wonder, like, what is involved in that? Is it like an age thing? Is it like I'm used to old strategies that everybody's caught up on, and now there's some new guys that have come up with some new stuff? Like, you always wonder, because it's the mind, it's not necessarily the body.
Well, you do go through a grind.
No, I agree with that, right?
Like your schedule is,
Traveling,
your schedule is always on the go, even when it's the off season.
Right. No, I totally agree with that. It's just, that's what I'm saying. Like, to me, what's fascinating is to watch, because again, I've watched the end of many coaches' careers, but I've never been like sort of like watching coaches while they were in their prime, and now, like, again, I'm not speculating that he is at the end of his career or anything like that, but it's interesting to see, like you just mentioned, like they used to be like super dominant, right? They used to be the Alabama of college football, college basketball, and now they're like the Ohio State, where it's like there's still an intimidation factor, but not really. You know, like, okay, they're not unbeatable. Like, we're going to go out there, play a solid game, and then we're going to have our chances. You know what I mean? And they still get the best recruits every single season.
Mm-hmm.
And yet they don't.
Oh, yeah, because Duke, I mean.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So, which is interesting, because, like, you would think with Duke's players, they should be, like, killing it.
Right.
Like, it should be almost an undefeated season, in my mind.
There was also another thing that came out, and that was a good point, which you made. You see, this is why I want you on the show. This is why I want you.
I'm a feature
this
player.
is why I want you to have a long-term contract instead of being like those SNL people. Because it's like, you mentioned the intimidation factor, and I never thought that didn't come into my mind. But you're right. That's a good way of describing that.
Right.
So. Also, I've heard too that it's like the teams that are successful are the teams that aren't in this one and done business in college basketball.
Okay.
Because you think about it, all the Final Four teams.
Right.
You have Texas Tech. You have. Oh my gosh! I can't believe I'm just
like Michigan State.
Michigan State. You have have Auburn and Virginia,
right.
And it's like none of those programs are. Well, let's take Auburn out of that, because not right now they're in like an upstart program.
Right.
Yeah. But it's like, but still, I mean, a lot of those kids have to stay at a program like that.
Right.
Virginia is a program where they want guys to stay at least 3 years.
Right.
Same with Texas Tech, and same with Michigan State.
Right.
They're not into this one and done things, and the one and done thing is probably kind of just had its time in the sun.
Right.
And to build a successful basketball program in college that can compete for national championships and make it through the national tournament, I mean, you're just not going to win with you're not going to win consistently with guys like that.
Right.
Now, maybe you can have one spectacular freshman that leaves early, and you have a team of sophomores, juniors, and seniors, and you have a good mix there. Maybe that can work out. But it's like, I think we're seeing right now that the Calipari way of doing business isn't really that great.
Well, the thing about it is it's great if you can sustain getting top talent year after year after year, like a Duke, right? The Calipari way is just it's weird because he's like very upfront about it. Like, this is what I'm doing, and there's no secrets about it. You know what I mean? Where I don't know if Coach K is necessarily saying that, but it's obvious, right? You know.
But he's showing that, obviously.
Right. Because those guys, you know, don't stay more than a year. Like, Zion's obviously gone, RJ Barrett's gone, probably Trey Jones is probably gone too. I mean, you know what I mean? So it's like, okay, yeah, they all go, and that's where they get they get their highlight reel, because then they're going to go on to a team like Duke and get a lot of attention and a lot of opportunities to shine. But again, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think it's interesting because you look at the team that I'm thinking about right now is Villanova.
Mm-hmm.
So for the last 4 years, Villanova was like the team, right? But now they've cycled through all their guys, and now they're like struggling to even make it past the second and third round. And so I think that's an example of not having a team, a powerhouse monster recruiting program like a Duke and a Kentucky and a Kansas and the North Carolina, where, yeah, you're going to come in waves.
Right.
I mean, I would say Michigan State, I think the Big Ten teams, they benefit from that area of the country being heavily it's sort of like college football in the Southeast, right? So they benefit from a lot of local players who want to play for a local team like Georgia, Alabama, right? A lot of basketball players come from the Midwest. Like, you know, Michigan and Indiana are big-time basketball states, you know? And so a Michigan State and an Indiana, or like Michigan, Purdue, like, you wonder why those teams always field year over year solid teams.
Right.
You know, they're always in the conversation. And that's because they're not necessarily recruiting like a Duke or a Kentucky, which are like the best players in the country, but they're getting to mine like the best local talent in the area, which just happens to be rich with talent. And so they keep coming out, and they're always on the cusp. But, like, you know, Michigan State, you always hear is in the conversation. Michigan is always in the conversation. Ohio State, for that matter, tends to typically be in the conversation. But they still don't. They're still not a Duke, a North Carolina, a Kansas, or a Kentucky.
Right. Absolutely. Those are great points.
Or Gonzaga. Like, I don't know what Gonzaga does. Oh, I do know what Gonzaga does. Gonzaga is a global team. Like, they go out and get like a bunch of like European and like Australian players that, like, I always wonder, I'm like, how is Gonzaga always getting?
Yes. I want the education.
Yeah, right. yes. Give me the ball. But I mean, they're always there. I'm
going to do my Dirk. Yeah, I can't even say his name.
I mean, they're always there. They're always there, and I'm like, wait, how are they always there? And it's like, oh, okay, because like Gonzaga doesn't have like a strong any other team outside of men's basketball,
right?
Like, you know, there's like nothing else. I don't even know if they even have a football team.
I think they do. To be totally honest with you, let me look that.
I would hope that their soccer team would be decent.
Why do you wonder if their soccer team is going to?
Well, because since they're so used to like recruiting from overseas, I'm sure they'd be like, "Hey, and if your brother wants to play soccer, come on over."
Gotcha.
So you know the sketch. Wow. You know the sketch that this just reminds me of the sketch that I was kind of telling you this week, and I don't think you really understood. But you know how there's always this this conversation about like, oh, the underbelly of college recruiting for men's basketball and football. I'm curious. I want to see SNL do a sketch with all their women of like how the women get the top talents that women get recruited for their schools. I would love them to create this ironic sketch, like, yeah, here's how they, here's how we get recruited. Here's what colleges have to do to get to get the best women on their team.
Wow.
I think it would be funny.
I'm like, okay. It took me a minute to be like, I'm like, what is he talking about?
Yeah.
But now I get it, though.
Exactly.
Now I get it. So you thought about this watching, because you've, unlike myself, I'm gonna totally admit this, that it's like I haven't been really watching this past weekend. I saw the North Carolina Auburn game and how that went down, but at the same time, like, you've been pretty glued to the TV watching all the big games.
Right.
And I'm just kind of playing catch up now, coming into the office.
Right. I think. Well, I mean, I haven't been glued to it, but so my roommate is a Big Ten fan. I mean, Purdue, Michigan State, Michigan. So I've been sort of indoctrinated in that. So I watch the Big Ten conference tournament is like super exciting because you always have like your Michigans, your Indianas, your Purdues, your Michigan States, your Ohio States. All those teams are right there. They're kind of like the SEC of college basketball. And so when you watch those tournaments, it's like any one of those guys are going to blow up.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
I'm more a fan. I'll say this too. I'm more of a fan of the conference tournaments than I am the national tournament.
Yeah, really? I don't know. I'm not.
Well, that's why I have you on the show today.
I mean, the national tournament is super exciting. Again, you just got so many teams from everywhere, so like everybody has some sort of skin in the game.
Right.
And it's kind of cool because like the guy sitting right next to you at work is like, oh, I'm from North Dakota, and you're like, oh wow, or I'm from Iowa. You're like, cool, and so everybody's kind of like got their team. And it's always cool to do the brackets and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Just to, they make it so easy to nowadays to just get a group of your friends and create a little, pool of people. So
Right.
To me, it's exciting. I mean, the conference championships are maybe starting from the semifinals on. It's okay, but I mean, you're talking about 2 games.
Right.
I mean, because again, even in the Big Ten, the first rounds are like against the scrubs of the Big Ten, and then it doesn't get good until like possibly the quarterfinals, and that's if there's like six teams that are.
I guess
decent.
where I'm coming from with this, that it's like with my team, that that 1 year they had no chance.
Who's your team again?
Georgia Bulldogs.
Oh, okay.
I guess from my team that it's like they had no chance that year that they won it all. Yeah. And then it was pretty exciting seeing them win it all.
Yeah.
So, but still, I mean, this is something. I mean, this is something great to talk about.
Yeah.
They had to come in here this morning and break it down.
Like I said, it's a cool situation. I watched the Purdue versus Virginia game. Oh my God, it was like Steph Curry.
That was sick.
It was so
that
awesome.
Kid, that number 3 kid,
Carson Edwards. He was killing it.
I'm glad you brought the name because I'm just like I would have been lost.
No, well, so what's funny is second half, it was Carson Edwards. Versus I don't know what his first name is, but Guy on Virginia, and apparently, he missed like 5 shots in the first half, so he was, and he kind of got injured in the first half, so he was hobbled or whatever. And so then all of a sudden he takes his first shot, hits a 3. He hits like 4 threes in a row. And I'm like, whoa. And then Carson Edwards is just draining threes from like half court. And I'm thinking this level can't be sustainable. Eventually it's going to be a letdown because it's super exciting right now. But eventually one of these teams are going to either pull away or these guys are going to start missing, and then it's not going to be all that great anymore. Well, I was wrong, because they remained hot throughout that whole entire half. And not just them, but both teams. And so it was just like score for score for score for score. It wasn't even like everybody's just bricking right now. It was like people were making shots. And then at the end of the regulation, it was like, okay, Purdue's got this. And then they missed a free throw, and then they do that thing where they intentionally foul and all this. Just like, that strategy that they thought would have worked just came back to bite them, because it was just like it was these last-second shots and these miracle plays that came out, and you're just like, dang. And then overtime was just as good. And so, I mean, it was just like one of the most exciting games to watch from like beginning to end, because it was just nonstop action and one team outdoing the other team over and over and over again. And I mean, the Duke game was sort of like that too.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Before I forget too, let me just give a call to action. If you like what you heard before, because we're not done here, but if you like what you heard so far on the show talking about college basketball, well, be sure to like, subscribe, and comment, and you can find the ATL box score where all good podcasts are found. So be sure to, because we're on the major ones, Google Play, iTunes. So be sure to check us out. Check us out on social. And we're just recapping the weekend that was in college basketball. We'll get to some Braves conversation a little bit later. We talked about Auburn at the beginning, and I don't think we're giving them enough credit, because they're like the local school that's in our market. When I saw they were playing North Carolina, I was just like, this should be a really good game. And I guess you have to give it to Bruce Pearl for coming up with a strategy, which was pretty much kind of like with that Virginia game. Make as many 3 shots as you can.
Right.
And that's exactly what they did to advance to, because I feel like, them beating Kentucky was a big deal, and doing that, having to play North Carolina and Kentucky.
Sure.
But I feel like that North Carolina game was the game that got them over the hump, and it got those kids to be like, oh my gosh, we can do this.
Right.
We're up against a 1 seed that's always projected to go win the national championship, who beat Duke 2 out of 1. So them just it was just to put that on display. I mean, that was just ferocious. Like, kind of looked like your Warriors there for a couple of minutes. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Just hitting those threes, getting the plays they need to win that game. And to me too, it seems like with Roy Williams that there's always that one game that gets away from, that's critical, that determines your season. There's always that one game for him that just falls by the wayside.
Yeah. I think the one and done stuff could be a detriment to these guys too. So we talk about it, and how like, oh, they get the best players that are definitely wanting to go to NBA, and they're just going to commit to 1 year. But the thing about it is like it's a shame because can you imagine if Roy Williams and Coach K had their team for like 3 years? They'd be killing it because it's like those guys got to mature. They get to study the plays more. They get to
Right.
you know what I mean. And all of a sudden, you have these guys who have returned and they'd be super dominant. But you won't see that anymore because people are just like, okay, I'm either going to skip college altogether or I'm just going to go play 1 year because now with this new getting rid of the one and done rule. We're gonna see what that looks like, but these guys play 1 year and they're gone, and so it's like there's very little opportunity for these guys to, like Roy Williams and Coach K are constantly having to reinvent the wheel, because now not to say that they don't get great talent every year, but now they have to figure out, okay, how does that talent work with the rest of the team? And then getting those guys ready to play, it's sort of like they're kind of playing at a little bit of a disadvantage. I don't want to say too much of a disadvantage because they still do have the best guys out there, but their influence on the team is probably less because these guys don't. I mean, they don't have time like learning the plays and stuff, like a Christian Laettner, Grant Hill, Bobby Hurley. Like when they were like, juniors and seniors, they were locked in. They knew exactly what to do, what play. These guys had that stuff stuck in their head.
Yeah, I feel
Go for it.
No, finish your point.
No, I'm just saying, like, where's like a Zion Williams, like, that's raw talent.
Yeah, it is.
And obviously it's not just 100% raw. It's not like blacktop, but it's still sort of like he hasn't had multiple years of like, okay, this is a Coach K play. You know what I mean? And whatever. So it's an interesting thing. Like, I don't know if, I'm not the expert. I'd be interested to hear what Ned has to say about all that stuff.
Yeah. I think too that because you're right, like having those guys gel for a long time. I mean, you saw it in Tennessee this year,
right?
That those guys probably could have gone on to the NFL if they wanted to.
NBA.
I can't believe I just said that. They could have gone on to the NBA.
Right.
I'm used to saying going on to the NFL.
Right.
When it comes to college sports.
Right.
So, yeah, they could have gone. I mean, they could have gone to the NBA. Maybe they won. Yeah, maybe their draft stock wouldn't be as high. I don't think they're first rounders.
Sure.
Per se, but they were an example of a team that bonded as a team and got through things as a team.
Right.
The only sketchy thing was that it's like you lost your conference tournament, but usually when a team loses a conference tournament, you have had Final Four teams that lost their conference tournament or got out like the second to last day. North Carolina's done that before. But from a team aspect, I thought Tennessee was going to be that team that could that was going to be one of these Final Four slots.
Yeah.
I wasn't expecting Auburn was going to be there.
Well, like, so here's something interesting. So, okay, so like Michigan State. Here is their top players. So Cassius Winston, he's a junior. Okay, so he's had 3 years under the system. Matt McQuaid, who had that sick shot. That was crazy circle shot.
Yeah.
He's a senior. Okay. Then you have some of the other guys that have stepped up, like a Goins, who is a senior. Like Aaron Henry's a freshman, and Tillman is a sophomore. So they didn't have like the big, just like freshmen, like a Duke, where a Duke is with how many freshmen they have. So let me go ahead and let's compare that to Duke. So again, they only had 2 freshmen, but of their most talented players, their starters, they were either juniors, seniors, or seniors. Okay, so let's go to Duke's roster, just for comparison's sake. So R.J. Barrett, freshman.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We already know Zion is a freshman. Let's see. Where's Trey Jones. Trey Jones, freshman. So those are 3 starters that are freshmen. Cam Reddish, who is a little bit injured, freshman. So you got all these guys. Not only are all these guys having to learn how to play under Coach K's system, but they're also learning to play with each other. Because you just reintroduce all these guys into the team. The seniors that they have on the team don't play. Antonio V from Croatia, never seen him play. Brandon Besser.
From Croatia?
Yeah, never seen him play. Delorier is a junior, and he's probably the most senior active guy on the team. The rest of them are all just like freshmen.
Right.
Jack White is a junior.
Right.
So, again, the difference between those 2 teams, that's what it is. So, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be really interesting to see now with the Final 4 that are left. I'm sure Texas Tech, I'm sure they have a bunch of established players as well. But let's just go ahead and take a look. I mean, yeah. Pretty crazy.
Yeah, the one and done is just, it's not working out right now.
Right.
It's not, I mean, it's, to be successful at that, you have to have a whole team of them.
Right.
But yeah, I hopefully if you're listening and you're a big college basketball fan, we tripped your trigger.
Yeah.
But I just want to end the show because we got to get you out of here, Steve.
Thank you, sir.
For your
do my day job.
You got to do your day job. I was gonna say for your VIP thing.
That's right.
Yeah.
Players.
Yeah, Steve's a big player here in the city of Atlanta. But he wants to stay under the radar,
Right.
even though he's on the show.
Nice.
But I want to talk about the Atlanta Braves.
Cool.
Because they've had a rough weekend.
Hopefully that changes today with their first their home opener.
Right, their home opener. Like Steve said, their home opener is today against the Cubbies.
Good team.
I think it's funny they put this on a Monday and they're playing the Cubs, which usually the Cubs, they usually have a pretty good following. Well, there's a lot of Cub fans that live here in Atlanta, so you usually see them show up at when the Cubs play Atlanta. But I wanted, since it's a Monday, I wonder if that's going to change. I know we have spring break. Wasn't the traffic coming in this morning so great?
It was awesome.
I love spring break. It takes so many cars off Georgia 400 in the mornings.
Oh, yeah.
I'm pretty because you live in Cobb County, and it's like,
right.
I'm pretty sure it's the same way. It takes so many cars off 75.
It does.
It's so awesome.
It absolutely does.
I heard that it's like there's some like toll thing somewhere that I think south of the city or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
That it's usually they get traffic coming in north to the city.
Sure.
Well, this weekend they changed it to you have to pay tolls going south.
Oh, wow.
I'm like, way to take advantage of the state of Georgia.
Hey, that's what they do. That's what they do. It's the smart way to make money.
Right. Well, at least like at least when we have tolls, we vow to take them down. Not like the North where they're just
true.
where half that money's going to the Teamsters Union. You know what I mean? Instead of the state.
Right.
But
or the governor shuts it down because he's upset.
Right.
So
but speaking of the North, the Braves were in the North with, like I said, they took 3 games to the Phillies. And Bryce Harper hit 2 home runs.
Yeah. He was booed at first.
Right.
And then
he performed.
So did the Braves got swept, huh?
Well, that's the thing about Bryce Harper. Bryce Harper ERA is not going to be impressive. His on-base percentage is not going to be impressive nowadays. All he's there is to hit home runs.
Yeah. Why isn't his on-base percentage not good? Because usually they used to just walk him all the time.
I mean, you either walk him or try to pitch through him, but he's not trying to get on base though. He's not trying to get on base.
I do think it's terrible that Braves got swept. I don't know. I don't know if that's a sign of what's to come or not, but
I don't think it is, right? I mean, I'm not saying it is
early.
It's early. It's early.
160 something games.
I know. I mean, they just eat a Blooper burger; they'll be good.
Nice.
I mean, because like I think I should put this on. I love in a podcast where it's like I have visuals in front of me, but it's all audio. I can't like show you, but if like we were streaming live right now, this picture would be like in like our
peripheral.
Yeah, in your peripheral and stuff. And I'm gonna show you this.
Nice.
As I move my microphone and stuff.
Have you had one of those?
This is new. This is a.
So when we go, we're gonna have to go try it.
We might, but guys, there's like hot dog in there. That's too. There's like a chicken. There's chicken in there, and this one burger. Man, this is making me hungry thinking about it because we're getting because it's past 12 already, so I haven't had lunch. It's time to eat, and I'm making it.
So what is it? Is it a hot dog? Or
it's a hot dog in it. It it has hot dog, hamburger, stuff in it, tater tots.
I see that.
Chicken.
All kinds of cheese, jalapenos.
Yeah, it has like a chicken patty in it.
Damn, that's crazy.
Onions, tomatoes, jalapenos.
Tons of cheese on Texas toast.
So if you're going to the ballpark today, be sure you.
It's also got 26. It's also got a $26 price tag.
$26?
You're splitting that with somebody though.
$26. Good gosh.
I know, right?
But hey, this is one of the great things about going to the ballpark.
Exactly.
I heard too. I read in the paper too, because the Braves don't have like a high. They're I forget what they call that thing, but pretty much since their suites aren't as expensive as Mercedes-Benz Stadium,
right?
Because Mercedes-Benz Stadium is slashing concession prices because their suites are super expensive. They're not as expensive with the Braves, maybe because there's so many games with baseball. So it's like they're not cutting back on prices.
Gotcha.
In case you were curious. And also, too, SunTrust Park is still cash friendly.
Nice.
Did you hear? Because that's what they're doing in Mercedes-Benz is no... Oh, my gosh. This weekend... I don't know. I'll save that for the end.
Gotcha.
When I thought of this. But, yeah, it just... Braves right now are in a sucky place. They're 0-3. But hopefully you can see the first win at home with the Phillies. I feel like it matters what you do. And I know a lot of people don't think this, and you start following baseball after, like, you think baseball starts to matter after Memorial Day, which it does for a race to get into the playoffs. But I just feel like where your team's at, and from a team standpoint, it matters getting solid wins in April, winning series and starting off to a good start, because it's all about momentum. If you suck right now in April, you're going to struggle going into May. So I don't think the Braves right now suck, and I think the pitching right now is very questionable.
I don't know. This baseball season is so long that I think absolutely you want to get off to a good start and you want to start building on the positives in April, but
you want to get to. I just feel like you just want, from a team chemistry standpoint, you want people feeling good early.
Sure, of course, but the flip side of that, you want people feeling good late too.
Right, but if you get people feeling good early, then that's going to translate over.
Possibly.
If you get into a negative place and your bullpen, your clubhouse is in a negative place, that's just not going to be helpful.
Yeah. No, I hear you.
So I feel like, from a standing standpoint, from you look at the season overall, a lot of people don't think April matters. I think April matters just from a team standpoint, from a chemistry building standpoint.
Sure.
Because it's like you get people feeling good that you can win here, then that gives you confidence going into stuff. Yeah, when the rubber hits the road is going to be after that. After Memorial Day. But at the same time, because that's when things are really going to start counting. But at the same time, usually you can tell what the good teams are in April.
Right.
And who the bad teams are.
Got it.
So, which it's looking like right now Philly looks really good. And, also too, I believe too, you can also slide. That nothing's guaranteed in this world. So you can also start backsliding.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, hopefully Albies, we can see more of an Albies presence. I feel confident in our bats because, all those games Braves scored a run in them. So it's not like it's not like our offense is crap. It's just more pitching is the question, and those pitchers are just getting owned by the Phillies. So hopefully we can see more of a positive start, and they can be in the win column by 9:00 tonight. So great day. It's a good feeling too. This is a nice day. It's not raining or anything like that. The only thing is the pollen's out. Bring a jacket or coat if you're going to the ball game. Man, I was surprised how cold it was today.
It was.
I wish I had gloves on.
Terrible.
Yeah, it was getting to me. So, with that is recapping the weekend, and I just want to thank Steve Choi for joining me through this hour long, just talking about college basketball and some baseball in there, wrinkling in. But appreciate you coming on the show, buddy.
Thank you. Have a good one.
I'll see you. We'll be hearing from you in the next podcast, right?
Maybe.
All right. Well, that was recapping the weekend. Well, now we're ending the show. Just want to thank Steve Choi. He had his very important VIP meeting going on because he is a very important person here in the city of Atlanta. This is non-sports related. I mean, it kind of is. Samuel Jackson is actually a native Georgian. Big time Dogs fan, actually. Well, I mean, him and Charles Barkley, and Spike Lee, and Jim Nance. We're all in those. We're all in those commercials. I forget exactly what they were, but they were for March Madness. They were for something regarding that. I think, Capital One. I think it was Capital One. Yeah. I think it's funny how you always have like a bunch of bank commercials during these during these college events. But anyways, I saw yesterday, which was Sunday. Today we're recording on a Monday. Captain Marvel. And I'm not on the Marvel bandwagon. I am interested to seeing what happens in the next Avengers movie. But at the same time, I was really impressed. Yeah, I'll use the word impressed. I was really impressed. Maybe, I know there's people out there, and you can put this in the comment section if you feel this way. I don't care. But I was impressed by Samuel L. Jackson's performance in Captain Marvel. Because his character, Nick Fury, is always this hard, I'll let you fill in the blank there. But he's always this tough character that, you just don't seem as, you don't put him in the category of nice. I'll put it like that. Or as someone that you could have a friendly conversation with. He just comes off of this really hard core type of character that's all about business. But actually in Captain Marvel, and I'm only saying this because this movie's been out for a while, he actually comes off like this nice character. I mean, a guy that really cares about people, especially a cat in a movie, really comes off as a extremely loving guy that he cares about this woman in the movie who's the main character. I forget her name, but she did a good job too. Also surprised to see that Jude Law was in that movie, but that's nor here nor there. But yeah, since Samuel Jackson has some Georgia ties, that he's a Georgia guy. I thought I'd say that. I thought he had a good performance, and you really saw depth through the character Nick Fury. So it'll be interesting to see what happens in the other Avengers movies. But I just wanted to leave that at the end of the show because, I mean, it's Monday. I mean, we start off the show talking about SNL. So thanks for listening to the podcast. Hope you enjoyed it. I hope that maybe this gave you some noise to listen to while you're at work or you're stuck in traffic. I always listen to podcasts on the go, like I've said, but I know probably there's people out there that listen to podcasts at work or working out. So whatever you're doing, hopefully we helped you get it through that, and hopefully you enjoyed this conversation that me and Steve had. There were no notes. We just turned on the microphones and we went from there. So hopefully that you just enjoyed this genuine conversation that we had, just talking about the tournament and Braves baseball. And check out the Blooper Burger if you're going to SunTrust Park today. And by the way, like I said, wear a coat or bring a coat with you because it's gonna get cold as mess. Well, it's already cold as mess, but still tonight, man, the temp is going to drop. So hopefully we'll be having that spring weather though, or the summer like spring weather that we have here in Atlanta soon, instead of this cold stuff. But thanks for listening today. Be sure to like, subscribe, and comment. We are, like I said, we're with, you can find the ATL box score. Yeah, you can find the ATL box score where all good podcasts are found. And, go Braves, and let's get a win against those Cubbies tonight. And episode 46 is out.